Okay, good afternoon. It's July 18th, 2007, and we are here in Colchana this afternoon. And I have with me past Chief George Saddleman. And first of all, George, I'd like to thank you for taking some time out to spend with us and providing us a bit of your knowledge about the past and some of your visions for the future for the nation. Can I first of all ask you, George, to just briefly describe for the record who you are and where you come from?
Esquisquita, otherwise known as George Saddleman, one and only son of Josie and Joe Pete Saddleman, and I lived right here at Kulchana all my life.
Okay, and you are a past chief. Can you just briefly give us a timeline of perhaps when you served as leader for Upper Nicola Band?
I started out as a council member back in 1973. I served as a council or chief, don't ask me the years, but right up until 2002. So it was 31 years of leadership.
Great. So as we mentioned, we're going to cover a few different areas, talking about the 70s, talking right until 2007. And first question I have for you, George, is to briefly describe what you recall as being the political environment back in 1970s forward.
Well, I guess probably maybe I'll just make an opening comment. Prior to 1970, I was looking at, over the years, of course, I always do a lot of research and coming up with some notes about the struggles that we have as Okanagan people or as Indigenous people in both North and South America. I haven't got the book, but there's a book called We Get Our Living Like Milk from the Land, edited by Jeanette Armstrong, Derek Miracle. This was done a few years ago, and it talks about our cultural heritage, the beginning. It talks about our laws, talks about a whole number of things, and who all the Okanagan people are, and basically some of the territory. So this is sort of a backdrop that I sort of read now and again as far as us as Okanagan people. And I go back to May 4th, year 1493. I do that because of the fact that, no disrespect to people that Roman Catholic, I brought up Roman Catholic, but in May 4th, 1493, the Pope of the day made a declaration that all us people that weren't of Christian weren't allowed to have land and all that sort of stuff. We were heathens. So the Pope made a declaration of the day that people can go and take the land, all that supposedly belongs to Indigenous people, take it, and nobody can take it away from you. So that's the day and the year that our struggles began. This same document was recorded in what they call the Marshall Trilogies of 1863, when the Cherokees took the government to court. This was cited. So there's still a group in South Dakota, a group of Indians that are still talking to the Pope, trying to renounce this document from May 4th, 1493, sort of put us in a rightful place. So that's the very root of what goes on. And as of lately, on the Leadership Accord, which is certainly been signed in March 17, 2005, there's a whole number of things that talks about it. But then again, we're up against another statement, no disrespect to the Roman Catholics, but certainly the Pope of the day in 1931 made another declaration, which is called the subsidiary rule, which empowers locally, but certainly the Crown still maintains the power. And that's what we're up against today in a number of things. So when I go back and look at the 1970s, I know myself, I think it was 70, I think it was spring or June. Yeah, about June 1970, myself, Daniel, Leslie Manuel, we were asked to go to several meetings at that time because of the fact that the Union of Chiefs formed in 1969. So the government thought, well, maybe we should work with the people of Canada. So they started promoting what was called the Section 69 grants to bands. That's the first forerunning policy for running administration offices within the communities. So I went to several of those meetings, and if I only knew what was going to be happening at that time, I think we'd have probably taken a whole different path. But we thought the federal government was going to do great by us, but it's never to be. So in the 1970s, we had some leadership through the Nicola Valley approach Upper Nicola to talk about forming the Nicola Valley Indian Administration to sort of pool all our money and to come to some, make use of this grants to bands policy, which was sort of taking over our own affairs. And part of that process was first rule of order of business, I think it was to get the local Indian agent, get the Underwoods and Blair Harveys out, and we somehow, hook or crook, we got Felix Moses, our first real Indian agent of the day. So he was the forerunner of us doing some of the work that we're doing today. So in the 1970s, it wasn't a very glorified start, because I think the chiefs got kicked out of Upper Nicola Band Hall because we didn't want to share the money with them and all that sort of stuff. I wasn't there, but maybe some of the people who were there, I don't know, but I know Chief Gordon Antoine the late Chief Gordon, Grand Chief Gordon Antoine, talks about getting thrown out of Upper Nicola Band Hall anyway. So that was a forerunning of the work that we've done. Purely administration, nothing else. No management decision, no policy development, or nothing like that. So we just took the work of the government and became Indian agents ourselves, so to speak. And I became the first Indian agent, I guess, for Nicola Valley Administration Office in 1972. I had some education background, taking that on in 72. I got interviewed, I think, about 45 people down at Chalouse Hall downstairs. That's where my first interview was. People, they wanted to know who my parents were and who my grandparents were, who my brother and sisters were, and where I got educated and all that sort of stuff. It was pretty exciting. That was our administration years. Then, as we move forward to the 75, we were still trying to grapple with the grants to band policy that was talked about in the 1960s, late 60s, in lieu of the 1969 white paper put out by Minister of Indian Affairs then, John Chrétien, to totally assimilate us. So there was a big political battle going on from 1970 to 75. So in a meeting in Chilliwack with the Union of Chiefs of that day, there was a big movement in all of British Columbia to reject funding. So for about 6 months, we didn't live. We lived off the land, supposedly. Though it was a good thing it was in the summertime. I don't know what we'd have done in the wintertime, but a lot of the people I haven't seen work for years were out there making $1 for the day. But that was a big statement that was made by the leadership and supported by the people. Then came along the whole idea that, well, we want to take on more responsibility. We want to kick the Indian agent out, kick the district Indian affairs out. So in the late 70s, we had a big movement in our area, especially the Kamloops. We indicated that we want to kick the Indian agent out. We want to handle our own affairs. I think some of us were here at that time. We went over there. We demonstrated, closed the office down, I don't know how long it took. I think it was a week or a couple of weeks. Just then, the Indian agent of there, the district manager, was on holiday in Hawaii. So first day he gets there, he gets a call from Kamloops there. Your Indians are on strike here. They're closed down your office. So he had to turn around, come back, and forego his holidays in Hawaii and come back and negotiate with us Indians. So all the people in the interior, which included the Indians from the Kootenay area, the Okanagan, the Shuswap, Lekwungen, the Stetlian people, because that's where we all did our business out of the district office. So we negotiated what we call a Central Interior Tribal Council, which involved all the Stetlium, the Lekwungen, Okanagan, and the Shuswaps and the Kootenays. It was one big tribal council that was described of the day. That was a very, very strong point, if I could remember, in the early days amongst us all. We all worked together, we all did things collectively. We agreed to what budget, where the resources were coming and going and all that sort of stuff. Then one meeting, I forget what day it was, but I went to the meeting, and the Indian agent, I can't remember his name now, I think he's transferred at that time. He got quickly transferred to Manitoba. But we were all sitting around there as leaders from all the different tribal councils, tribal groups, and he said, "Oh, just 1 minute. Why don't we create a shadow budget? A budget for Stetlium, the Lekwungen, the Shuswaps, the Okanagans, and Kootenays." And we never really thought of it. I never thought of it, and we'll discuss it at our next meeting, because we were meeting on a regular basis. Well, we'll discuss it at the next meeting. Of course, we all go home to our band offices of the day. And then, of course, our advisors, we have advisors. Each one of us can afford an advisor now. They start quickly calculating it. Wow, if we went separate by ourselves, this is how much money we'll have. We can do a lot of things. Okay, so all of a sudden everybody starts splitting off. Tribal councils, Kootenay, I think, were the first ones to say, "Oh no, we're going to take our own money. We're going to take the shadow budget and we're going to go by ourselves." And Okanagans did the same thing, and Stetliums did the same thing. And so the only ones at the table were the Lekwungen, and of course we were part of the Lekwungen as far as organization was concerned. Then, of course, there was a big infighting of the day. Some of the Lekwungen people said, "Well, we don't trust those Nicola guys. We'll go by ourselves." So we were sitting there as Nicola Valley at the meeting. So I said, "I guess we might as well form our own tribal council." But the thing about the tribal council policy of the day was that you need 10 community members to be a tribal council. And there's only 5. So this negotiation going back and forth changed the policy down to 5 communities. So then we formed the Nicola Valley Administration Office at that time. And then the rest is history from there, moving forward. So during that late 70s, early 80s, then we started talking about, tribal councils. I remember the meeting of the Union of BC Chiefs back at that time. I think we met in Penticton, and there was a big movement going along within the leadership talking about tribal councils. Says, well, we should be talking about nations, because that's basically what we are. So the leadership of the day across British Columbia said, yes, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should go on to our own selves and start nationhood building with Okanagan, Tanaka, and each tribe to themselves. So they started drifting off and doing that by themselves, rebuilding from what they known of the day as far as their language and that sort of stuff. So that's where the Okanagan Nation Alliance. I remember working with old Tommy Gregory. He used to come over and visit me. He'd come over 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and there'd be a knock on the door, and I'd get up and, come to see you. Make sure you get things right. So he'd sit there all night till, breakfast time next morning, he's telling me all these things that he talks about on the video. he visited me for a couple of years to make sure that I don't lose some of the oral history, because of the fact that there's a lot of oral history. You know, I know he wanted to talk Okanagan, but I know you don't know how to talk Stilts. That's fine. I'll work on my English, and then he'd tell me all the things. And of course, I didn't have a tape recorder in front of me to, just other than, what he's talking about. Now I can distinctly remember what he said. Then we got into like the mid-'80s. Then there was another movement within the tribal groups. They said, well, we're going to strengthen up capacity for our band administration officers more. So each community went home and calculated, wow, if we had our own budget, we'd have this much money now. Well, so everybody started going their own administration office, Coldwater and Lower Nicola and Upper Nicola, and throughout all Indian country, everybody started to set up their own administration offices during the 80s. And that was another magic word that was said there by another bureaucrat. Yeah, we could have a shadow budget, and that's what's happening. So when we look at that, that was a downfall. When I look back and read history that as is recorded by various people, 1877 was I think it was 77 or 75. There was a declaration made by the interior tribes that we're going to make war on the white people, the settlers, because of the fact that, just like that, there was old folks were saying on there, they're taking up all our land, and what are we going to do? So that's jumping back in history. So the government, or the white man of the day, had it all figured out. If you want to get the Indians to split up, we start putting little things here and take on your own responsibility. Forget about nationhood. Don't even talk about nation. That's a bad word. That's what they told the Lakatan people in 1887. Because the Lakatan people actually had a written constitution. It was all in English. I imagine of all the things, the powers that they wanted to do, they had it all going. The Indian nation of the day came along and told the Lakatan people, no, that's not the way to go. No, you get looked after by the government. You don't have to do all those things. So they were persuaded. They were taken off track. So that whole concept of nationhood building has been pushed aside by government officials of the day. So when we look back now, when I look at the things that we're trying to do, and I think we're trying to do that. The Leadership Accord is a tool that can bring us back, but the thing about it is there's other government instruments that are getting inside and trying to breaking up that whole nationhood thinking. So it's, and of course we get all wrapped up in it because we're trying to get the best deal for our community to survive. That whole subsidiary principle is dividing us all up more. And certainly the work that goes on needs to happen. And I think one of the things that, maybe the last comment I'd like to say, is certainly dealing with the identity, if that's what we're talking about, as Tilks people. I think we should have to look at how we make our declarations. There's a document that I found, and I'll certainly leave it here, is how do we deal with that? Because there's certain declarations that have been made over the years, and I think if we can systematically have a look at it, because we have enough of our academics within our own area now that can read that and look at it and say, okay, this is where we're going as far as a people. But what we need to do is we need the language and we need the stories. Otherwise, right now I hear that the Supreme Court of Canada is waiting for our elders to die off in the next few years, and pretty soon they're going to tell us, well, George, you didn't live in those days. You as a credible witness, you're done. So that's very important that the language and the stories be in place. So that's my quick story to what's going on today, right up until today, right?